Hi, I'm Anne McDowell and I'm a freedompreneur. I'm also a strategic career specialist and I'm here today to talk to you about 3 quirky tips that connected leadership and the history of leadership together. There's been a zillion studies about leadership and I'm going to share with you a couple of really interesting things that looked at the evolution of leadership and why it's so important that we're studying it today. So quirky tip number 1 is the fact that in the past, people looked at leaders as great people. They identified them as having charisma or great characteristics or be a likeable person. So they were named names like Alexander the Great, Peter the Great, but then there was also Ivan the Terrible, so I don't think he was so great. One of the other things in terms of that was they looked at defining the characteristics of a person and were they a really great person or were they just a great communicator. And so really interesting quirky fact number 1. Quirky fact number 2 is that in Australia they looked at whether leaders were more intelligent than their followers, and they thought, well, okay, it seemed like they were, but really it wasn't. It was very much about that the leader could actually talk to the people more, and it seemed that they were more intelligent. They could talk on any different level, many different levels, right from the sort of the least paid, like valued paid employee to the most highly paid employee. The leader could communicate across all levels. But the most interesting thing that I think is quirky tip number 3 is that they used to associate leadership with the fact that a good leader had to be tall. And you think, tall? What has height got to do with the fact that they're a good leader? Well, if you think about the expression, when I look up to someone, it means that the person is actually taller than you. So they look, and if you think about some tall people in history, you can think, well, okay, that's why they got that concept. So you had people like Abraham Lincoln, who was quite tall. William Wallace was quite tall. Edward I was quite tall compared to the rest of the population. But then you think, well, how did Napoleon get on? How did Hitler get on? And some of the other, like Winston Churchill in the Second World War, how did they all get on? Because they were a lot shorter. Well, if you think about everything you've read or seen, you'll actually see that Napoleon was on a horse whenever he addressed somebody. Hitler was on a massive podium whenever he addressed the crowd. And with Winston Churchill, he had a booming voice that came across on the radio waves that made him sound very important and dignified and much bigger and a big man. So he seemed a lot more important. So there you go, 3 quirky tips for the day, and I hope you've enjoyed them as much as I've enjoyed bringing them to you, and I hope to hear from you soon. If you want to find out a little bit more about how leadership and it all fits together, call me for a free discovery session to see whether you are indeed a person who could benefit from either a 6-month or a 12-month leadership program. Okay, give me a call. Bye-bye now, have a great day.